Hello, everybody, and welcome. This is Untether.tv. I'm your host, Rob Woodbridge. You know why you come here. This is that place that you come pretty much every day to find out what's going on in the mobile industry, what's going on, the folks that are moving the needle in the mobile industry, the folks that are actually creating the technologies you don't even need, you don't even think you need right now. And I got a company just like that. I sat down with this company in, I think, November of 2010. Is that right, Ramneek? November of 2010?
What? Yeah, it's been a real long while. That was two shopping seasons ago.
Two
We live
shopping.
for shopping seasons.
I love it. Well, I mean, it has been such a long time, but I got to tell you, what we're here to do is we're here to try to find out about this brand new category that was just launched in iTunes called catalog, right? And we're going to try to understand what the significance of this category means when it comes to purchase behavior, purchase decisions, why do it, and we're also talking with obviously the company that is. I mean, how many products do you have on in your database now?
It's up to about 450 million unique products right now.
All
The
right, so
product offers.
let's start with a little bit of a background for people who don't know about TheFind. Ramneek, can you? So first of all, Ramneek Bassin, who is the VP GM Mobile and Catalog, why don't you talk about what TheFind is, and then we'll talk about the catalog and what happened in Apple today.
Sure. So TheFind is a shopping company, an online shopping company. We started off in online shopping search. That was a few years back. But since then, the company has basically grown into three distinct categories or three distinct verticals, if you will, all shopping related. And the way we've kind of carved our whole business and business model is along the three areas that the consumer shops. And so those three areas are search, which is very directed. You know what you're looking for. You're looking for that shirt or you're looking for that camera. You go into a search engine and you type in the particular part number. The second paradigm of shopping is that of browsing or window shopping. You'll go to a mall and you'll just wander around. You'll do window shopping. Or on a print catalog, you'll just browse through pages. You're not looking for anything in particular till something strikes your fancy, and then you're hooked on it and you want to go buy it. So that's browse-oriented shopping. And then the third category, which is emerging now, is discovery shopping. So now discovery can happen in two ways. One is what I just described, is you're browsing and you suddenly discover something that you liked. And the second, which is probably more pertinent and much more important, is discovery based upon what your friends are doing. Or in a particular category, what a trendsetter might be doing. So if you're like my wife and she's looking for a handbag, she follows a couple of bloggers who are trendsetters in handbags. So that's discovery shopping, if you will. If somebody is showing you a particular item that you fall in love with. So TheFind has organized itself into those three product lines, if you will, search, browse, and discover. And for each of those modes of shopping, there are particular vehicles or particular tools that make sense. So for example, search, you'll go to the web, you'll go to Google, you'll go to thefind.com, and you type in a particular item, right? So that's what we call a lean forward experience. The web and the smartphone lends itself to that very nicely. So you're out in the store and you're looking at this Nikon D5000, you want to type it into your iPhone or your Android phone, and you want to find out who else is selling the Nikon D5000 and maybe it's at a discount. So that's, again, a lean forward experience. Both the web search as well as a search on the mobile phone are the right platforms for that. So similarly for for browse shopping, web is not that good of an environment just yet. You can't really flick a page, if you will, using your mouse, right? We're working on that, and very soon we'll announce a product that gets you very close to the page flipping experience on the web. But fortunately for us, the tablet, iPad and Kindle Fire, Samsung Galaxy, these tablets lend themselves very nicely to the browse shopping experience because they give you the feeling of reading a magazine or reading a book. And by the way, catalog reading or catalog browsing is neither like reading a magazine nor is it like reading a book. And we'll get into that in some detail very shortly. And then the third is discovery shopping. So for discovery, actually, both the smartphone and the tablet are good, provided you have access to your social network then. So the right platform for discovery shopping is really your social network. So we actually think of Facebook as a platform for shopping. So e-commerce is in its very early stages with Facebook. Facebook, other than putting up pages for stores and brands, Facebook quite hasn't figured out what social shopping is all about, right? So companies like TheFind are leading the way, working with Facebook, by the way, and I'll get into some details on that product that's coming up pretty soon, is leading the way in leveraging social signals such that you can have discovery going on using social signals from your friends, your trendsetters, and maybe even people you don't know, friends of friends, that are showing you nice, cool things that you might want to buy. Right? So a social platform is the right basis for discovery shopping. So all our products, our whole business is kind of geared towards that. And then just to give you some statistics, roughly 15 to 16 million unique visitors visit us every month on the web and our various properties. And then we are the #1 catalog shopping app on the iPad. We are the only, I repeat, we are the only catalog shopping app on Kindle Fire. And very soon, you'll have us talk about a product called Glimpse, which is in private beta right now. And Glimpse is discovery shopping on the web and on tablets, leveraging the Facebook like button. So between our 15 to 16 million unique visitors, we are doing of the order of 45 to million searches every month. We index 2.5 billion pages every month. 450 million products are there in our index. And it's just a gargantuan database that gives our user the benefit of shopping across the board in the way they want to shop, on their terms, on the right vehicle, on the right device when they're ready to shop.
So, but this is, and then I mean, we talked around when you launched the iPhone app. So that was a long time ago, and since then, obviously, you've launched an iPad app, and so what has happened since then? What have you seen as a result of kind of the migration into mobile in the 14 months since we've spoken?
Sure. So shopping season 2010, mobile represented about 8% of the company's traffic and so on. Shopping season 2011, which just happened a couple of months ago, mobile and tablets represented 23% of the traffic overall for TheFind. So a lot has happened since then. We've fielded multiple products since then. We hit the number or the top 10 apps on iPad overall, not just in the lifestyle category. Catalogs category is day 1 today, and we're #1 there, and we'll talk about that. But in the lifestyle category, where apps like ours were relegated to because Apple did not have a unique section, so we were just a lifestyle app. So we made it to the #1 spot in lifestyle, I'd say about 12 times. We made it to number 10 overall for iPad apps across the quarter million apps that they have, 10 times, just in the 6-7 months after the launch. So clearly the markets have spoken, or the users have spoken and made us the #1 app. Furthermore, we have just announced that we are crossing the 1 million downloads for our catalog app. And for a category like ours, a million downloads is one heck of a big achievement.
What about facilitation? I mean, congratulations on that. 1 million downloads is pretty staggering. What about a facilitation of commerce? Do you know the kind of activity that's coming through your applications when it comes to actual purchases?
Sure. So let's do a deeper dive into catalog as an app. We are seeing average session lengths of 14 minutes. Is that people are sitting either in front of the television and browsing catalogs or whatever's attracting their fancy. And we've got all the brand names, right? We've got Crate & Barrel, Williams-Sonoma, Saks, Nordstrom, Lands' End, J.Crew, Sephora, you name it, we've got it, right? Just the top brand catalogs. Overall, we've got 75 unique catalogs with 160 issues. So like Crate & Barrel at any point in time might have 4 or 5 issues live with us. J.Crew has 3 issues live with us, as an example. So we've got hundreds of catalog issues and 70 plus unique catalogers live at any time inside the app. So now if you're a user, you're spending on average 14 minutes with us. Every time you open up the catalog app, you're browsing through 4 or 5 different catalogs. Now, here's the statistic that even blew my mind away. Catalogs come in multiple pages. What we found is that the best catalogs for the iPad and Kindle Fire are the ones that are 32 pages or less. Okay? If you, as a merchant, has a 32-page or less catalog, what we are seeing is that 80% of the time, people are browsing end to end in the same session.
So that means, so let me get that. That means that people are going from front to back. They're every page they're looking at it.
80% of the sessions.
So why 32 pages?
It's just, we find that to be the right attention span for this medium. When we first started the app, everybody was telling us, well, the average attention span of an iPad user is about 2 minutes per session.
Yeah.
And so we designed for that. We said, well, maybe we'll just launch with about 30 or 40 catalogs. And once we started seeing the engagement, very quickly we said, well, let's add, we're up to, as I said, over 120, 130 catalogs, even 160 catalog issues at one point in time. And what we found is when the engagement went up to 14 minutes, then we did a drill down of more analytics and more statistics. And that's when we found out that 80% of the time, for a small to medium-sized catalog, people are browsing end-to-end. So the engagement is extremely high and just very gratifying to see that we've delivered a product that people just love. And the virality and the organic growth is happening on its own. So people can share a page from a catalog. So literally, we've delivered the notion of being able to tear a catalog page and save it for future reference. Or, hey, Rob, how do you like this page? I'll send it to you. Hey, I really like this nice set of bar mugs. And here's the page of the Crate and Barrel catalog, page number 23. And now, voila, it shows up on your iPad or on your email.
What does that mean? So
tearing and sharing a page,
yep.
A product, a store, a brand, you can tear and share anything.
But
right? Try doing that with a physical catalog.
Oh yeah, exactly. With a stamp, I'm sure, in an envelope and a stamp, you can do that. But
that's right.
The paradigm of a catalog. I mean, the way the catalog started was, I mean, it was an easy way to get the store in the house, right? It was a physical. People still anticipate that IKEA catalog every year, right? Or twice a year.
Yeah.
So the paradigm that you guys have done is try to replicate that, but in a digital form.
In a digital form, no trees being killed.
Yeah.
150 catalogs showing up on your iPad in a timely way. You're not waiting for them 3 days later for them to show up in the mail. And not only is the IKEA catalog showing up, guess what? IKEA may have sold that mailing list to 30 other catalog merchants, and now you've got XYZ catalog showing up in the mail. So what we have done is we've avoided that unwanted catalog mess. We partner with agencies like catalogchoice.org, where you can opt out of print catalogs, especially the unwanted ones. Sure, you don't want to stop your Crate and Barrel catalog. You don't want to stop your Williams-Sonoma or Sephora catalog, the print versions. But guess what? Now you have the best of both worlds. You get your favorite catalogs in both online media and print media that you like, and you get onto Catalog Choice and you sign off the printed unwanted catalogs, but you still get them on your iPad or your Kindle Fire, for that matter.
So, and I mean, you can buy right from that catalog. It's transaction enabled.
Facilitate the transaction end to end.
And okay,
and
so
right.
That's a really interesting piece. In everybody's rush to move into, for example, to move into a mobile app environment, especially when it came to purchases. I've talked to folks from Zappos all the way down. These guys have moved into apps, right? They built a product for their store to buy, basically to do this, to extend their window into the digital world.
Right.
Then all of a sudden you guys come along and you say, listen, we're going to bring the catalog on. Do you find that there's any kind of tension, or do stores have an app and then also use you to distribute their catalog?
Absolutely. So initially, I'd say when we launched the app, there was hesitation.
Sure.
But very soon, I got on the road, I got on the phone, on Skype, whichever way it took. The education process was extremely rapid. And we had a very simple model that we proposed to these retailers. And by the way, Zappos is in our app as well. We are one of Zappos's biggest affiliates on the web, and now one of the biggest affiliates on the iPad through our app. Okay, and we actually promote the Zappos app from inside our app. So it's a very synergistic relationship, since you bring up Zappos in particular. So now, so what happened was that we gave these retailers a very simple analogy. And it actually started with Nordstrom and Saks. So we went up to them and said, look, you're going to put up your brick and mortar store in the best mall there is, wouldn't you? Now, if there's an opportunity, just like Best Buy does, you can put up a standalone store as well. But by the same token, you also want to be in high traffic areas. You want to set up a store inside a different mall. And the Find catalog represented that virtual mall in a very elegant way. And so we have people like Barney's that are part of our app. Okay, and Barney's we went the distance with Barney's in terms of quality. So they wanted to evaluate what their neighboring catalogs and what their neighboring tiles would look like, just like they would go to a physical mall and say, hey, who's going to be my neighbor, right? If I'm Barney's, maybe I don't want to be next to a Kmart. But if I'm Crate and Barrel, maybe I want to be next to a Williams Sonoma.
So do you work on that? Like, is that a premium service that, or is this just kind of you work with a customer to say? Because I never thought about that. Like, you have clusters of high end stores, and so you want clusters of high end malls and middle tier and then lower tier, or not malls but catalogs, or else because you don't want that cross brand association with Kmart or Nordstrom's.
That's right, and so we try to do so. So for example, Kmart would be in the home section, in the home category. So we have categories. What we've tried to do is what we say is stick to the upper middle and the high end. Okay, and so even the very exclusive and the high end guys, they don't mind to a certain level being with the masses because it drives foot traffic anyway, right? Just like in a physical mall, it does drive foot traffic. So we've clearly separated ourselves from the competition in terms of being the higher end of the merchants, and yet not diluted the brand value for them or for ourselves.
I love it. I mean, it's so fascinating here because when a catalog, I don't mean to stick on this point, but when a catalog lands on your doorstep, it's indiscriminate. Like I could get my IKEA the same as my day as my Land's End, the same day as my Kmart catalog, right? But you as a business, you have to be very cognizant of the brand image around what it is that you're portraying and how you're portraying it and who you're associating with next to it. And then even that point that you just made around the fact that they don't mind because some catalogs, just like some stores, drive a lot of foot traffic, and you want to benefit from that. It's what a science.
That's right. And so I think to some degree we lucked into it, and to some degree we've now analyzed the data.
Yeah.
So for example, we're very clear with our merchant partners, if you will, that Crate and Barrel and Best Buy are the number one drivers of traffic. And for different reasons, right? Crate and Barrel is a great brand name. And by the way, they've got three different classes of catalogs which are treated differently. So there's Crate and Barrel, there's CB2, and there's Land of Nod, right? We have all three brands associated with them. And Crate and Barrel drives the highest traffic. Similarly, Best Buy drives the highest traffic, both because of brand recognition, as well as because they have a weekly circular. So as I was saying, Best Buy drives traffic because it's a weekly circular and it's always fresh. We launch it every Sunday morning and it's valid for a week, just exactly the way it happens in their newspaper inserts. And Crate and Barrel is a monthly catalog. So Crate and Barrel is driving traffic simply because of their brand name and brand recognition. Best Buy is driving traffic both because of brand recognition, the category they're in, but more importantly because it's fresh every week. And so the other merchants that are part of our app, they benefit from that traffic because people will come to visit the Best Buy or Crate and Barrel catalog, but oh wow, now they've discovered Barney's, or they've discovered Saks and Nordstrom and J. Crew and Land's End, and on and on and on.
So let me interrupt you there for a second. Do you have to? I mean, was it important for you guys to get a great brand to begin with, or was it the combination of all the that was basically the corner client, the one that you could reference to everyone and say, oh, we've got Nordstrom's, you gotta get on with us.
So the good news for us was that given our search business was doing so well for most of these merchants, we already had established relationships with them. And so when we launched, this was in May of 2011, we launched with 40 of these merchants on day one,
Okay.
simply because we had existing relationships and it was easy for me to close them and say, hey, you want to be part of the launch of the catalog? Try it, you'll like it. If you don't like the experience, you can always pull your catalog back. Well, instead of pulling back from 40, we've grown to 75 as more merchants signed up after the launch.
How involved was it to get these catalogs up? So if anybody's watching this or listening who has a catalog, 32 pages optimized, so it's a good size of a company. What's involved in getting a catalog online through your app?
Again, so for us, it was relatively straightforward because the merchant products that are inside those catalogs are really the best of the best that the merchant wants to showcase, right? So as an example, a merchant might have 80,000 to 100,000 SKUs. A merchant like Crate and Barrel might have of the order of 80,000 SKUs. But in a catalog, they'll probably boil it down to about the top 600 they want to show for that period, for that seasonality, if you will, right? So they've already done the hard work of curating those 600 items. Now, the easy part for us was that those 600 items already exist in our index of 400 million products, right? So the trick for us was to say, okay, Mr. Crate and Barrel, you tell us that this SKU number exists on page 3, this SKU number exists on page 5, and we just map them. Now, Crate and Barrel has gone the step further. They actually give us an automated file, or they've introduced even automation at that level. So has Best Buy. So every week or every month or whatever frequency these merchants are, a file shows up that says, here's a list of SKU numbers, and here's a list of page numbers that they exist on. From there, we turn to our index, and the iPad app turns to the index real time and maps the product to the page. And voila, you have the buying experience as well. Not just browsing experience, you now can actually drill down into that particular SKU and go onto the Crate and Barrel site and buy the product, put it into the shopping cart.
Now, what about Apple? How Apple must look at catalogs the same way they look at their bookstore and iTunes, and they look at it with the same kind of desire, obviously, because you're facilitating a transaction. They're facilitating the relationship with the customer through the iPad. Do they look at this and say, how do we turn this into revenue for themselves? Do they take their cut?
So absolutely right. So Apple is currently looking at this as just a whole new area that they have, quote unquote, stumbled upon, right? So catalogs as a category has been introduced alongside categories like lifestyle and gaming, utilities, entertainment, news. All these were top level categories. And voila, this morning, catalogs is a whole new category.
I love it.
And when I woke up this morning, there were about 300 apps that they had allocated to the catalogs category, demonstrating that this is a vibrant section or of the App Store. And we are very fortunate, given the fact that we've already reached that magic million download threshold, we happen to find ourselves at number 1 of this newly introduced category. What a morning to wake up to.
Well, it's true, because it's not often that Apple creates a new category, even though people have been clamoring for category creation from Apple and a little bit more diversity. But the main reason is just like you said, they want to be number 1 in a category. It's very difficult to be number 1 in casual games. It's very difficult to be number 1 in books or lifestyle, right? You guys were there. But now all of a sudden, Apple, for the first time that I can remember, creates a new category. Boom, there's TheFind.
Yeah, and it's not, it's not the very first time. Of course, they created the categories when they created, right, from the beginning of the universe, so to speak.
That's right, beginning of the mobile, but that was like, they haven't changed.
That's right. So the last time a new category was introduced, now here's a little trivia for you and your viewers. The last time, I'll give you a little hint. The last time a category was introduced was in 2009. Okay? 2009 is when the last category was introduced. And guess what that category was? A wild guess?
Games.
Medical apps.
Medical apps.
Right? That was the last big category that they introduced. And they haven't done one since 2009. So our crack team actually went in and did some research before they came up with that answer.
2009. So it's been almost, well, I mean, we're in 2012.
Yeah,
So it's been almost 3 years
correct.
since they created a category and they've added this catalog. So obviously they have a master plan. Why is this so significant? Why is it significant that they created a catalog category?
Yeah. I mean, again, so I don't want to speculate on what's going on in the hallways down in Cupertino, but what, as practitioners in the space, what we find, A, on one side, we find gratifying. B, on the other side, we find it very validating or validation that not only has Apple set the bar high before they introduce a category, but that because they've introduced this as a category, they've kind of vindicated us on our vision that we had thought through, which is catalogs, and especially catalog shopping, is not like reading a magazine. It's not like reading a book. So just to kind of give you the contrast, when you're reading a book, you're going from page 1 to page 100 in that absolute sequence, or however many pages your book has. You'll go front to back, right? And there's very few times that you turn back and go back to a page. Maybe you do that for a reference.
Well,
Now,
sometimes I'm a slow reader and I forget what I
you
read.
forget
I get distracted, right? That's what happens.
correct. But in large part, people read a book sequentially, front to back.
Yeah.
Right? That's the normal mode. Magazine reading, on the other hand, you'll read a section at a time, or you'll read an article at a time, and then you'll go from page 1 through 10, then maybe you'll go from page 20 to 23, maybe you'll go back to page 12 to 14 and read an article at a time, right? And then very quickly, you move on from that magazine as it grows old. Now, catalog reading or catalog browsing is somewhere just in between those two modes, right? You're looking for a particular item, or you're looking for a particular category. Maybe you're redesigning your living room, or maybe you're redoing your kitchen, or maybe you're just looking for those pair of shoes that you saw somebody else wearing, right? And now you say, well, geez, which catalog do I find that in? And it's a very different way of going through printed material, right? And so now if you go to the iTunes store today, you'll see these 300 catalog apps that have been out there, IKEA being one of them. Then you have people like Sephora and so on, they're there as well. So you have those merchant catalogs. And in parallel, you have apps like ours that bring together the best of the best, hundreds of catalogs into one app. So that the user doesn't have to go download a Sephora catalog, doesn't have to download a Zappos catalog. They can come to TheFind, and voila, they have all these catalogs rendered there as well. Okay. So Apple clearly recognized this as a mode of browsing or reading, which is different from a book or from a newspaper, right? And so they've legitimized a category called catalogs.
So what do you think this means for things like branded apps? You know, we still see those. We still see a lot of companies building, and we're just, I think, touching the surface when it comes to mobile enabled applications for brands, right? So first it was about marketing and awareness making, but now people and brands and companies are realizing, well, we got to make some money off of this.
Correct.
So what are we starting to see around that? Is there going to be is there room for the catalog, just like there is room for the flyer and advertising? Is that what we're going to start to see?
I mean, so we made some assumptions for our product development roadmap, if you will. And the assumptions, really the key assumption here is, and we've seen that unfold between 2010 and 2011, is that standalone catalogs on the iPad or Kindle Fire are extremely expensive value propositions for the retailer, right? So they might render a one-off. They might have a project budget and allocations and people and resources. They might find a contractor that will help build them their iPad app or their Kindle Fire app, right? And they'll launch it. But now they're hammered on two dimensions. One is, how do they keep up with the technology? Now, especially the new iPad has come out, it's much higher resolution. How do they render their app with higher resolution pages? How do they keep up with the technology curve, let alone bug fixes? And then the second vector that hammers them is now they're not driving enough traffic. Again, the single merchant catalog will have a limited fan base. They'll have a limited amount of foot traffic, so to speak, right? If you have a standalone store that nobody knows about. So how do you market your catalog? How do you market your store, if you will? And then how do you drive traffic to it? So pretty soon what happens is the bean counters in any organization start looking at that and saying, well, why should we allocate more budget to it? What did you drive? What did you do for us last year? And the answers are turning out to be nada or Zippo. They haven't done much. And so now these in-house shops are turning to us and saying, well, what does it take for us to be part of your catalog? Because we can't maintain this as a standalone app. We're not driving enough traffic to this as a standalone app anyway. So we're starting to see a shift where people are starting to approach us, and we are inundated with inbound calls now, whereas 6 months ago, I had to chase people down. Hey, come, take a look at our mall. You want to be part of our mall. And now it's the other way around. Hey, what do we do to be part of your mall?
So, I mean, the reason I always get blown away by this, it's so simple, but it's always the power in numbers that you're starting to see here. And what that means to me is really, quite frankly, you've got a mass audience, and most people are saying, listen, give me your product, I'll put you in my store. But what you're saying is, give me your product, which is your catalog, and we'll put you in our catalog store. And then the outcome of that is that we're going to basically create the world's greatest mall with the world's largest number of products in it. And you're selling it the way that you want to sell it, but we'll facilitate that transaction, which is so different. And I love the way that you're thinking here. Don't create an e-commerce store front for, like, say, for a mobile commerce storefront. Create a catalog front. Such a unique approach.
Yeah, and it's working, right?
Yeah, seems to be.
Yeah, the customer has spoken. The merchants have spoken.
Do you release like the amount of revenue that goes through the store? Do you talk about the number of transactions?
No, we don't disclose that number.
I thought, well,
But
yeah, it's okay. We're just
it's in the several hundreds of millions of dollars of leveraged shopping that we're doing.
Yeah, but when you talk to your customers, they're coming back to you thinking they're not leaving you. How's that?
That's right.
Yeah, they're sticking around because they know the value that you guys are bringing to them.
That's right. So the users are sticking around because we give them the best of the best catalogs, the best of the best products, right? The merchants are sticking around because the users are there. So they have to have their store there, right? And then we do get into discussions about everybody wants to be on the first swipe or the second swipe. Everybody wants to make sure that they're featured in the largest tile, on and on and on. And we have some interesting discussions, but in large part, people are happy to be there, and the users are happy to be there.
So you make money by putting them in the catalog. You charge them to put in the catalog, or do you charge them a percentage?
No, we don't charge. There's no starting fee right now. We haven't opened up that program. We're thinking about it. But right now, there is no charge to get on board. There is no charge for a particular tile. We are pretty picky in terms of who we feature when and where. The only money we're making right now is through the clickouts, which is our traditional model, right? The CPC, CPA model, which, suffice it to say, will change. Definitely by shopping season 2012, we would have introduced a variety of new monetization methods into the app.
Do you have any that you want to share right here? No?
I mean, the standard ones, right? I mean, there's no rocket science there, right? It's just like a virtual, it's just like a real mall. Right? Yep. You'll pay for the real estate. You'll pay for putting up a sign in front of the main entrance, right? And you'll pay to have an entrance into the mall. So let's say if you're Macy's, you're gonna not only pay for the real estate, but you're gonna pay because you have 3 doors that are leading into the mall. Yeah. So people have to go through Macy's to go to the rest of the mall. Right?
So you pay for your entrances. You pay for the washroom, right?
Yeah. So they will emerge a model that'll apply in the virtual space.
Yeah. And when you kind of project a little bit, how long is this business? Are we at the beginning of this catalog space? Are we, is it going to mature faster than traditional catalogs? Is it going to morph into something that's brand new or different? What is your end goal with your, how many people have downloaded this app? Do you release those numbers?
Yeah, we just said, right, we reached a million
Million,
downloads.
a million. That's right, a million people. So
Yeah.
you know what? There's a threshold where you guys having a million people looking at this app or interacting with this app gives you a certain level of power, but it's a small number compared to the rest of the
Right.
rest of the planet.
Right.
So how do you see this industry evolving?
Well, it's the same thing, right, that happened to ebooks. Uh, the first few years, there was a shaky start. Then suddenly, out of nowhere, comes a company called Amazon
Yeah.
that started selling books online, and then they started introducing Kindle, and now you have ebooks. So there was an evolution that happened there. Same thing happened in the music industry, right? Long live the LP, long live the.
You don't have to tell me. Springsteen just released his album yesterday, and I sat, and I had that conflict. I was in HMV thinking, I'm going to buy this album, but then I felt terrible because look, I'm a digital guy. I'm not going to buy an album. Who buys albums anymore? So I'm with you. Long live the LP.
Yeah, and or the CD for that matter, right?
Yeah.
When was the last time you bought a CD with
Well,
music?
not yesterday.
You did.
I didn't. I came back and I bought it from, I came back and I bought it from iTunes, right? Because that's
Yeah,
what you
exactly.
do.
You went online and bought it, right?
Yeah.
So there's an evolution that happens. Same thing happened with newspapers, right? Is why is the newspaper industry struggling? Because the ones that did go online are doing quite all right, thank you very much. But those that didn't keep up with the times have suddenly started disappearing. So we believe, I don't know if it's 2 years, 3 years, 5 years, 10 years, but clearly it will be a compressed roadmap where this $200 billion print business of catalogs will not have a leg to stand on. People are asking the same questions. So now, excuse me, inside a retailer, just like they asked the question of the budget about your mobile app, now they're going to ask the question of, well, how many people are looking at the print version? Yes, we are mailing them, but there's no guarantee that it's being read. Now, conversely, we are starting to share some really deep statistics or analytics with our merchant partners. So I have been telling Crate and Barrel on an issue by issue basis which page or which product is getting the most views. So I can tell Crate and Barrel that in your summer edition of 2011, page number 23 had the highest number of eyeballs.
That is
Now,
incredible. They can't do that. They can't do that with the traditional catalog.
they can't, right? And so now their guy goes and looks back and says, oh, yeah, reason for page 23 was because it was just this beautiful screenshot of living room furniture, right? So now they can do more of that because now they know the user has spoken. Whether they bought it or not remains to be seen or doesn't really matter. The point is that that page drove the traffic or the engagement, right?
And you can see how they would look at the statistics as the leading edge, right? So when a catalog comes out and people are looking at the catalog in the iPad version, and you give them those analytics that says, this product is by far the most clicked on, the most requested, the most viewed. So you better have this in stock. Do you think it's going to have an impact on traditional or terrestrial inventory as a result of what you guys are doing?
I think it's going to make an impact. The word of mouth is traveling pretty fast. Now, I'll give you another example. There's a kids clothes retailer that out of the blue called us up and they said 43% of the traffic that is coming from the Find catalog is new users that we had never seen. And this is a
43%.
43% of the users that we were sending were new users, new to that merchant.
That's incredible.
And it just blew my mind away.
Yeah.
And it's a well-known catalog, it's a well-known brand, yet we were driving 43% new acquisitions for them. So now which other channel is going to give them that level of conversion?
Yeah. And I start to think about the way that traditional, so other catalogs are doing this. So if you're out there, I mean, you've probably tried this. You've probably put a QR code on every single page or on every product or as many as you can with links back towards your website. Mm-hmm. And that's one way to bridge that digital gap. If you're going to send a printed magazine or printed catalog.
Very tedious, extremely tedious, and labor intensive.
Oh my goodness, yeah. Think about it. If even on 32 pages, you probably got 8 products per page. So you're talking about almost 200 products that you have to create a QR code and an equivalent link on the website. Wow, I certainly wouldn't want to be in that space. But bringing it over to the iPad, how long does it take for them to get on the iPad, for example? I mean, if they're not already
Weeks.
indexed by the find.
That's right. So if you already are part of our index, it's the first catalog takes 2 weeks to get you on board.
Okay.
And after that, it's whatever frequency you're on. So you have to give us your catalog a week in advance, and you're on board.
It's pretty incredible.
Yeah.
It's pretty incredible. So we talked a little bit. I just want to finish off by, thinking a little bit forward about the way that that this business evolves. You guys, you mentioned Amazon. Amazon is the biggest catalog on the planet, right?
Yeah.
Do you guys compete in that space now with what you're doing because you're bringing all those products together?
I would say, I wouldn't say a categoric no, but in large part, no, we don't compete with Amazon. And one big area, if you think about it, it doesn't take rocket science to figure out. Amazon specializes in hard goods, right? When you turn to Amazon as a consumer, you're turning for things that you can describe very effectively. When traditionally people turn to TheFind, they turn to us for soft goods, hard to describe things like a shirt or a shoe or a piece of furniture. Even though it's furniture, it's still called a soft good because it doesn't have a hard SKU number. I mean, the merchant might have a hard SKU number, but in the consumer's mind, it doesn't have a part number, right? So TheFind.com grew up as a soft goods specialist, if you will. And the same things happened in catalogs, right? The merchants, like take Crate & Barrel as an example, they're not giving their catalog to Amazon. And they might have a store on Amazon. I don't think Crate & Barrel does. But you take any other retailer, they might have a store, or the smaller retailer might have a store on Amazon. But it's not being done by catalogs. It's being done by part number in large part, right? So, and we are one of Amazon's biggest affiliates on the web. So, and that's more in the search category where we are driving traffic into Amazon as opposed to competing with them. And then on the catalog, Amazon doesn't really have an equivalent of the browse mode, if you will. Zappos is the division that does, and Zappos, as I said earlier, is a partner with us. We have the Zappos catalog.
I love it. I love it. And it, you do, as long as you're driving traffic to the source, like Amazon or Zappos or anybody else, that's where you can help them benefit from being a part of your service.
Precisely.
Oh, Ramni, we should be doing this weekly, man. You and I. It's been far too long. I've certainly gotten a little bit grayer, but it's still as fascinating as when we sat down, 14 months ago to walk through the launch of the iPhone client.
Exactly.
Now it's iPad, then it's catalogs, and then all of a sudden, hey, Apple creates an entire category for you guys to dominate in, and I love it. I love the fact that you guys are right there, number one right now in the catalog category for iTunes. Does that give you guys a boost?
I don't know. I haven't looked at the numbers today. I've been
celebrating all day.
Celebrating. Well, it's been in meetings all day, trying to make sure that our servers are up and all the traffic that we're seeing can be helped or can be handled.
Last question.
And then the iPad 3 launch. The new iPad launch.
Yeah, the new iPad launches. So that's my last question around the impact that these devices, the iPad in particular, is going to have going forward on the retail experience, and certainly from the couch, you said the lean back experience about buying. What is the tablet's impact on retail?
I think it's going to be a very positive impact. I've written a little white paper a few months ago, and I'll send you a pointer to that. But clearly, we are seeing a sea shift in attitudes at these retailers as they recognize that these high resolution, especially the new iPad with the resolution that it's going to offer, your catalogs are going to come alive on this new media. And companies like us are going to give you advantage of leveraging that new media in ways that you hadn't even imagined before, right? Not just the page turning experience that you're used to from print catalog, but the ability to make those products come live and buy them now that you've discovered them. You don't have to bum around and figure out how the heck am I going to buy it. It's one click away, right? Showcasing similar products. So you're looking at a screenshot, a lifestyle shot of living room with coordinated cushions and a coordinated love chair and so on. And you can all buy that in one transaction, either from one merchant or maybe even separate merchants over a period of time. So you can bring the living room now right onto your iPad. envision a product. And so we didn't talk about that capability. We have the augmented reality feature inside the iPad app, where you can take a product from inside the catalog and picture it the way it will look inside your living room. So you can take the store to your living room. Now, where else can you do that except on the iPad with a camera?
It's crazy, and I think that people, the impact of this is going to be we're going to be studying this for the next 15 or 20 years, the impact that these devices have had on retail and are having on retail. We know that it's disruptive. We know that a lot of the companies that are out there might come to realize that a catalog is the single best friend that they can have when it comes to combating the power of an iPhone or an Android device or BlackBerry with a QR or a code. Any kind of a QR code scanner or barcode scanner. That's the word I was looking for. A barcode scanner that you can get the best price on Amazon or anything along those lines. So I think that the catalog is going to be that piece that is going to. It might be the equalizer. We'll see.
That's right. I mean, that's where we're driving to, and hopefully our assumptions pay off.
God. Well, listen, I really appreciate you doing this. I know that busy day today, and I wanted to capture this while it was still fresh, capture it while you were still number one in the category of catalogs on iTunes, and capture it because it's not often that these little things that I think that everybody passed by. I only read maybe 3 or 4 stories about this category being created. So it gives entrepreneurs out there hope. Keep pushing, keep building,
right,
and prove that the category that you're in or that you want to have created is of value. Just like Ramneek's company did. Look, catalogs are now a category, which is pretty incredible. And, as Ramneek said, it's been since 2009 when the last category was created. That's incredible. It's a great statistic. So where can people find you, Ramneek?
We're at www.thefind.com. And the app is called Catalog, and it's spelled with the British spelling, CATALOGUE.
Yes, well, you can say that because I'm in Canada, and British is the same here. So it's Catalog so that's available for the iPad and
Kindle Fire,
and the Kindle Fire,
and large size Android phones, where it's almost the size of a tablet.
Yes, the one with the pen.
That's right. Exactly. So we're available on all 3 stores: iTunes, Android Market, as well as Amazon AppStore.
What about the iPhone? Do you move to the iPhone with something similar?
So iPhone, we're looking at it, but the real estate isn't enough for the browse paradigm. So we're sticking to the search paradigm for iPhone, at least for the next few months. Now, maybe the next generation iPhone might give us a bigger screen or more resolution that'll make it browser friendly or browse friendly.
I wonder what happens when Siri gets involved in this.
Well, Apple has to open up the Siri API, and then we'll have a few comments on that.
Okay. Well, we'll have you back when that happens because it's bound to happen.
That's right.
Ramneek, I can't thank you enough for doing this.
Pleasure.
We've been speaking with Ramneek Bhasin, who is the VP and GM of TheFind mobile and catalogs now. And you can find them at TheFind.com or just do a search for catalog, the way we spell it in Canada and in the UK, with a GUE. For Amazon, Kindle Fire, for the iPad, and for, as you said, larger screen Android devices. Go and check it out. And I'd love your feedback. As I always do, I love your feedback. Please reach out. Let me know what you think about this or any episode that we've done before. Untetheredgmail.com. Bring it. I love doing this. I hope it shows. I love that you guys spend a few minutes of every day being a part of this. Thank you so much. So whatever you're doing, wherever you may be, I really appreciate you spending some time here at Untethered.tv. Ramneek, thank you so much. I really appreciate your time. Thank you, everybody. We'll see you next time on Untethered.tv. See you, Ramneek.
Bye-bye.